Welcome back. Today I'm starting a new kind of mini series all on character design. It is one of my favorite things to do. I absolutely love coming up with different animals. One of my favorite things about character design is you really get to tell a story, and little tweaks can make a huge difference on how the feeling and emotion that you're getting from this character. So this first part, I'm going all through the face of a character. I'm going to do a cat. Feel free to follow along, and I'm going to show the different ways of changing up the emotions. So if you are getting started with your own character, like I said, I'm doing a cat. If you're doing anything else, really think about the shapes of things. Obviously, most faces are oval or round, but you can obviously use things like squares or rectangles, especially if you're doing something like a monster or something. It's really fun to do different shapes. But try to break things down into shapes is the main thing. So I'm going to start with the ellipse tool. And I'm just going to do an oval shape. Turn the stroke off and then update the color. So this is another area where when you get started, you really want to think about the story that you want to tell or the emotion that you want to convey in your character. My style tends to be more on the cute and whimsy side, so I tend to do more fun colors. Not always realistic. I know I have several animals that are like pink and blue, and today's going to be no different. I'm going to do a blue cat. I'm going to move this first shape off to the side. So the other way of doing a face is to use the pen tool. When you do that, your shapes are not as perfect, and it comes off as, once again, a little more playful and fun. So as you can see, it's obviously not as perfect. It's really nice if you're doing something specifically geared towards, like, say, children's wear or something with more of a juvenile feel. And once again, going back to trying to think of everything and break them down into shapes, especially if you're doing animals, the ears are very triangular usually, so the next thing to do would be to add in ears. So you can go over to your shapes and use a triangle. You actually could use the square as well. Just going to go ahead with the triangle. And I like to soften up that very top point, so using the corner tool, select your top point and just pull that down. And before I add it to the face shape, I like to go in and add, there's usually like that little bit of detail where there's not fur in the ear. Most of the time in design, people will do like a pink color or coral color. You could obviously do a lighter or darker version of the main color. So I'm going to copy and paste this with Command C, Command V, and then I'm just going to decrease the size of that. Under Fill, Color, right now I have it on Lightness, which is exactly what I want. Instead of doing a pink, I think I'm going to try to do a lighter version, or maybe even a darker version. Go ahead and group those together. Place behind by using the keyboard shortcut Command and the left bracket. Copy and paste this group with Command C, Command V. And towards the middle of that top toolbar, flip this horizontally, holding Shift and drag to the other side. The next step would be to add in the eyes. So there's a few different ways of doing the eyes, and it goes back to the emotion that you want your character to have. You can use the ellipse tool and just create small black round eyes. I'm going to drag these off to the side so we can kind of get an idea of each one of the ways you can do eyes. So along with that ellipse tool, now I want to add in a white background. I actually tend to use the white background quite a bit, but even just playing with the position of where the black dots in the eyes are can add a lot of interest and change up the emotion and feel of the character. The next way, you can use the pen tool and add in kind of like a semicircle line. This is another one of the ones that I use a lot. I just like the feeling that you get from it. It can kind of give the character either like a shy feeling or sometimes even like a mischievous kind of a feeling to it. So I do really like those. Another thing you can do is you can flip these vertically. And it gives the character kind of a tired feeling to it. Maybe even a little sad if that's the emotion that you want. You can also give this a more feminine look by grabbing that pen tool and adding on a couple eyelashes. I really like the style of these eyes, so that's what I'm going to stick with. The next thing would be the nose. You can actually use just a simple black dot for the nose. You can even change it to a different color. You could draw on the nose either using the pen tool or the brush tool. So that style is really good if you're doing a human character. And then you could always use that triangle, which actually works really well for a lot of animals. Flip it upside down, and then I like to use the corner tool on all three sides. And you can add in a little detail by using that ellipse. And taking out just a little edge to that triangle. Grabbing all three pieces and then using the subtraction tool. And I really like that nose, so I'm going to stick with that one. You can use the pen tool for the mouth. You could do the kind of traditional cat, which is a line down from the nose and then curving up. And then copy and paste and then flip horizontally. I like to use a lot of the time a brush tool, and I like to draw it in. So you could do just a regular smile. Once again, depending on the emotion that you want, you could do the pen or the brush tool, and you could do like a frown. A lot of times I like to do kind of like a smirk off to the side. The very last way to do it, if you go to your shape tool, go to the crescent tool. I'm just going to rotate this. And then I like to use the ellipse tool and do a darker pink and create a clipping mask by pulling this right below that crescent. It creates a clipping mask. So that's the other way of doing the mouth. I actually like the smirk the best. And I may switch up the eyes. Once you have the general facial features that you like, It's fun to add in some little extra details. I know a lot of people like to do the characters blushing, so you can do that with the ellipse tool. It's actually not something that I do very often, so I'm going to delete that. Again, depending on the emotion, you could add in some almost like eyebrows. This works really great if they're kind of grumpy. As you can see, that completely changed the emotion of this character. I'm going to add in some whiskers using the brush tool. And then you need to decide if, especially if it's an animal, if there's any color changes in their coat. So especially like on a cat, you could do some stripes or some spots. I think I'm going to add in some stripes. So that is part 1 of getting started in character design in Affinity Designer. Next week I'm going to go through adding some extras to the face. So it could be like glasses or bows, and then adding on a body shape or clothing. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.